right, let's go back to Lily and get another science or just any question. Let's get a question.
This one says excess glucose in the blood is initially stored as a polysaccharide, which can be converted back into glucose when needed. So, yes.
Okay, cool. So I guess there's a few ways to answer this question. So we're given 4 possible options: starch, glycogen, adipose tissue, or insulin. So how is glucose stored? So we could look at this and we could say maybe you know that glucose is a monosaccharide, a simple sugar that your body uses for energy. And so you might know how glucose is stored. Another hint here is that we're told in the question that we're looking for a polysaccharide. So that gives me a hint right away. Adipose tissue is the scientific term for fat tissue. And adipose tissue, as the name suggests, or the fact that it's related to fat, adipose tissue is all lipids or fats. So since we're looking for a polysaccharide, a complex sugar, adipose tissue cannot be our answer. Insulin is another possible answer given. Insulin is a hormone that your body produces, the pancreas produces it, and insulin is going to be something that actually helps to make this process happen. Insulin can help shuttle glucose back and forth in your bloodstream, but insulin is more of an actor here. It's not a stored form of energy. So starch and glycogen are actually the 2 top answers. Those are both polysaccharides. So they could both be our answer hypothetically, but we're told here that this is excess glucose in the blood. So that tells me that we're talking about an animal of some kind that has flowing blood. And that tells me that the answer has got to be glycogen. So the distinction between glycogen and starch is this. They're both polysaccharides, which means complex sugars, so long chains of sugar. But starch is the form that sugar takes when it's stored in plants. So you may know the word starch is related to things like white rice or potatoes or cereal grains in general. So plants, when they make glucose through photosynthesis, they'll store excess glucose that they don't need as starch. And then we humans will sometimes take that starch and eat it ourselves. But in our bodies, glucose is stored as glycogen, which is a complex sugar that all animals use to store excess glucose, which is, again, a simple sugar used for energy. So hopefully that makes sense.
Does. It's just hard to remember, I think.
Yeah, and again, with so many of these science questions, it's the language. If you knew what poly meant, if you knew what saccharide meant, that would give you a hint right away.
Yeah.
Insulin ends in IN. IN is an ending in science that's, when it's a molecule, it's typically a protein molecule. So that could tell you right away that that's could not be the answer. There are all these little language clues, but you're right. In some ways, it's a lot to remember.
But makes sense, of course. Of course.